Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat.
Resolves.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
This is the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. I have something amazing, and that's because this episode is sponsored by Dragon Shield sleeves. And not just any sleeve, they're Cowboy Bebop themed sleeves. Oh my gosh, and so I'm gonna make a deck tech celebrating my favorite anime, and who else can put all of these bounties out on everyone across the battlefield but Mathas Fiend Seeker. Mathas Fiend Seeker is red, white, black for a 3/3 legendary vampire. It has Menace, and at the beginning of your end step, put a bounty counter on target creature an opponent controls. For as long as that creature has a bounty counter on it, it has, when this creature dies, each opponent draws a card and gains 2 life. So Mathas was one of the vampires that came out in the pre-constructed decks, and no one really knew what to do with him, and I still think that's the case. It feels like a little bit of a group hug vampire, and so it really doesn't have a really good home, except the theme of putting bounty counters out and then having my bounty hunters of Cowboy Bebop come and kill them in order to, well, try to get money for themselves, but mostly just give money away to everyone else. Oh my gosh, it's spectacular. So one of the challenges with a theme deck, or any Vorthos deck, where you care about flavor and function, is getting the balance right. And so the way that I've approached it is having some really strong showcase characters and interacting with that bounty counter a little bit, but then having the whole rest of the deck being really, really functional. And so I'm going to want a lot of different cards that support Mathas. Well, and actually you have to wonder, what kind of cards do support Mathas? I guess we want kill spells. That seems pretty reasonable. And I guess you also want to kind of grind your opponents out by taking out their creatures slowly and maintaining card advantage. That sounds like a control deck, but you're missing blue. So that's one of the hurdles that we're going to have to overcome is, what is the identity of this deck? How does it win? And most importantly, how Cowboy Bebop can we get? Well, the first thing we have to do is introduce our cast of characters, and I want to start off by talking about Spike. Spike is so important because he's going to be the headliner of this entire deck, and I've chosen Toshiro Umezawa to represent Spike. Not only do we have an awesome looking art right there, looking legit, Toshiro synergizes with the deck really strongly. I'm not talking about the Bushido one, although both Toshiro and Spike have excellent hand-to-hand combat skills, but really it's whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, you may play target instant card from your graveyard. If that card would be put in the graveyard this turn, remove it from the game instead. That goes so well with Mathas because Mathas wants you sort of bounty countering and sniping different creatures with these removal spells, and then Spike is like, yeah dude, let's just shoot those off again. It feels like Toshiro's going after all of these creatures and killing them. And so I do want to run a lot of awesome instant speed removal like Curtain's Call, Wretched Confluence, Crackling Doom. Oh, I really like the way these two legendary creatures kind of work together. Now, if you want each one of these characters to have their own ship, which they do in the anime, I've put in the Heart of Kirin to sort of represent Spike's ship just because it looks kind of similar. Vehicles don't entirely match Mathas, but they can a little bit if you are bringing a few more board wipes into the equation when you're building this sort of control deck. Alright, so we've talked about Spike. Let's go on to Jet. And I had a hard time figuring out who Jet would be, but you see, Jet is the captain of the Bebop, and I feel like he's kind of a father figure to Spike and Faye.
No, just wandering around with some weirdos.
Yeah, they are pretty weird. I still feel like I have the right fit for you, Jet. Jet is Jared, Weatherlight Hero. He is the captain of the Weatherlight. 2 red-white for legendary creature human soldier. Jet is definitely a soldier. First strike. Whenever Jared Weatherlight hero dies, exile it and return it to the battlefield. All artifact and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. If Jet is anyone, it's the person to sacrifice himself for others. And also, I like this effect, even if it's a one-off in these types of control decks. I like the idea of Jet saving us all. I also like the idea of Gerard being an insurance policy for our mana rocks and our other key creatures. Because one thing we might do is board wipe to get a huge card advantage, sacrifice Jared to get back the creatures that we need. Jared has to be captaining the Weatherlight, and the Weatherlight looks like the Bebop. It's awesome. We also might want to consider cards like Brought Back, and Brought Back is an instant. It synergizes with Jared's kind of theme going on here. And then also Tashiro Spike can cast Brought Back from the graveyard when we're killing other things. And so we can see how all these instants sort of move together. Now, so far, this whole theme seems to be working together perfectly. Unfortunately, Jet Medallion, doesn't even work to cast Jet or Gerard. So that's a non-bo, and I'm wondering if I should even include Jet's Medallion in this deck. Okay, I guess I won't include Jet's Medallion in this deck. Let's move on to Faye Valentine.
You know the first rule of combat?
Huh?
Shoot them before they shoot you.
And the best fit that I could find is Massacre Girl. Faye Valentine just massacres people, and it is insane, but also Massacre Girl fits Mathas really, really well, taking out other people and then letting you draw a bunch of cards. Board wipes, especially selective board wipes, are going to be really strong. If Faye had a ship, it would be the Smuggler's Copter. It's just the right shape for her ship. And also, I've decided to include Gamble in here because it's Faye. Okay, at first I thought Ed would have to be young Chandra. I mean, it feels kind of right. I mean, both of them had dead parents. I actually decided instead to go with young Pyromancer because this is an instants and sorceries based deck. It's a very control based deck, and this matches with Tashiro Umezawa really well. But then Ed is not a fighter, Ed is a hacker, Ed deals with the ethereal, and all of his damage goes through other means, and I feel like young Pyromancer could match that really well, not to mention synergize with all those instants and sorceries. Now the real trouble came with Ein, the Datadog, because you would think you just need a legendary hound, Isamaru Hound of Konda. Just get in there and that is your Ein. But it just doesn't look cute enough. I mean, Isamaru, don't get me wrong, you're very cute, but I've actually decided to go with Filigree Familiar instead. Oh, it's so much cuter. I know it's a fox, but I would like to argue that corgis are closer to foxes than whatever this wolf beast Isamaru is over there.
This whole thing gives me a headache, and all because of this worthless mutt.
And also, Ein's a Datadog. That is very much a Datadog as I'm looking at that Filigree Familiar art right there. And of course, these are not our only characters. They're not alone. There are other bounty hunters out there always vying for that kill. Bounty Agent and Bounty Hunter belong in this deck. Bounty Hunter can destroy target creature with any bounty counters on it. That includes Mathas's bounty counters. Unfortunately, any bounty counters put on by Bounty Hunter won't give you that card draw and life gain that Mathas promises because that ability only works with Mathas's specific bounty counter. We're also definitely going to need a jail for all of these people that we're bringing in on our bounties, Palace Jailer. Actually, the Monarch mechanic is going to be really strong because we plan on having a really strong command of the board, and so that card draw coming in over and over are going to be really good. Let's also mention Dockside Extortionist because they have been extorted quite a few times, and in fact, they're always in search for treasure, so anything treasure related feels like it belongs in this deck. Treasure map, also revel in riches and smothering tithe. All of these can generate some treasure for our cowboys. So here's the play pattern for this deck. It's going to be running a lot of mana rocks, and so hopefully we can start off by establishing and expanding our mana base. That's important in any commander deck. Hopefully along the way we can land Ed as Young Pyromancer, maybe a Monastery Mentor, to be able to sort of build out our board a little bit and have some level of board presence. Pretty soon our opponents are going to start having a board presence when we can just land a Mathas and then suddenly keep bountying creatures over and over again. And then we just kind of let the board develop a little bit, but if anyone comes at us, then we have that instant speed removal to be able to destroy that and then keep our forward momentum, drawing more and more cards. Now, eventually the board will get way too flooded, and so we'll need some board wipes. So cards like Tragic Arrogance are going to be really good, letting us keep our very few relevant creatures around while destroying everything else. Similarly, Austere Command can selectively board wipe as well. And we can sort of then combo out with cards like Tainted Remedy for a big damage boost, but most importantly, we're probably going to end up commanding the Dread Horde or playing some really big spells so that suddenly we are the threat, we are the people taking all of your creatures, everything that we've killed here and there, and we're suddenly throwing them back at the opponent. Alright everyone, thank you so much to Dragon Shield for sponsoring this video. You can click on the link in the description and that'll take you to Cool Stuff Inc. where you can put in Jumbo5 to get 5% off these sleeves. You can buy them right now. Look for them in your local game store. These are special edition sleeves, so they don't have Dragon Shield across them, but they're easily recognizable and they are the same top-notch Dragon Shield quality. So pick them up. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see exactly how I built the deck, click on the link in the description and you can tell me how good of a job I did of matching all of these characters to literally one of my favorite anime. It is my favorite anime. It's so great. You should watch Cowboy Bebop. Alright everyone, bye-bye.